dissect well-written articles. Okay, so maybe you want to elaborate on this, Joey?
Okay, so dissect well-written articles will be something like this. Okay, when we read articles, sometimes if it's like news, China News Asia or Straits Times, so they tend to be reporting a certain factual information. So in terms of writing style, not much for us to learn from. Okay, so if you read articles from Foreign Affairs and other places, then it will be quite interesting. So like for instance, over here, the first sentence, why are some countries rich and others poor? So obviously this is a hook, okay? And you can actually say, oh, I can ask a question to begin my whole introduction, okay, because this is interesting. And then after that, there is this idea that, oh, okay, only by answering this question can one decide, okay. So you can see if you ask a question at the beginning, then you can use this technique to lead on to the key idea, okay. And then also here, the idea here is that the poverty, these efforts to solve poverty has mixed success. So in that sense, there's a bit of ambivalence here. So the writer is writing about a opposing stance followed by a supporting stance. Okay, because there is the use of although. When students read although, they know that the stand will be the opposite. Okay, so there will. Yeah, so this is what I mean. So you must be very purposeful when you're reading in order to dissect the strategies that very good writers have used. Then you can use it in your own essays. So for instance, over here, there is paragraph 3, there is a contrast. So when I look at this whole paragraph, clearly it is the technique of contrasting from the past to the present. Okay, so they think that in the past, people were rational decision makers. Okay, so they used logic to make their own decisions. But actually, what they realized for recent years, that a lot of economists, is that when they look at the psychology of decision making of the poor, they are not mostly rational. Okay, because they could opt for short-term thinking, they could have certain preferences, and things like that. Okay, yeah. So this idea of behavioral economics over here is challenging what previous mainstream economists have stated. Okay, so you know what I'm saying. So actually, we can also use a contrasting technique in our body paragraphs as well. Okay,
Interesting.
yeah. So other reasons, okay, so over here, in the sentence here, it is obvious, okay, so they have to try to understand why. When you see the word why, then you know that this body paragraph will be all about the reasons and the factors. Okay, so the authors do not have to say the reasons are these, the factors are these. Okay, it's not so explicit, but just by reading this word, I know that this is all about the reasons.
Coincidentally, the earlier article was actually very economics driven. I do hear that some of my students, they have been trying hard, okay, to use some
Economics.
economics concept in
Yes,
their.
yes, correct.
I would like to hear from the perspective of a GP tutor. How would it turn out to be?
Because economics is a huge part of GP, okay, just like politics and things like that. Okay, so we do have some questions. It was a passive question. Are big businesses better than small businesses? Okay, yeah. So students will use like, oh, economies of scale,
Wow.
ability to employ large numbers of people, that kind of thing, right? Yeah, and then so these are arguments that we accept. The only so that, yeah, you do need to have some fundamental economic background in order to tackle this kind of explicit questions, right? So are big businesses preferable to small businesses? But okay. The only thing is we tell students to avoid using jargon. The moment they mentioned about the elastic curve,
Elasticity, something
yeah,
like that.
okay, that one not needed already.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
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 yeah.
okay.
So that
So
one, so we cannot have a very the
one-sided.
yes, correct. So apart from, okay, so for those kind of questions, apart from bringing in the economic knowledge, we also get students to examine for the question: are big businesses preferable to small businesses? We also get them to examine politically, socially, different.
Other than economics or being one-sided in economics.
Yes, okay. Yeah, so
Okay.
for let's say the political progress and development of a country, are big businesses better? Do they threaten the government, or do you think that governments and big businesses can work together? So politically, is that a good thing? Socially also, how does it influence the culture, the behaviors, the mindsets of people? when big businesses are better than small businesses. So small businesses will be like your mom and pop shop, those owned by people with very small scale, right? Yeah, but it is also very authentic and also contains like a lot of history, right? Those are small businesses. So the big businesses will be like your big chains, right? Your Zara and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we want students to look at it from a holistically angle. So economically, politically, socially.